Ladies and gentlemen, this ain't Cordkillers. This is Spoilerin time. If you want to learn about what to watch, when to watch, how to watch, devices, all that, that's Cordkillers. This is after you've watched it. And today we are going to spoil Rogue One, a Star Wars story. We'll explain what Star Wars is. And Justified, episode 10 of season 4. I'm Tom Merritt, Brian Brushwood.
Yeah, man. Dude, we're going to do all that. But first, we got to check in on the winter movie draft. Bad news, Tom. I bet you thought you were going to just swoop your way into number 1. Oh, look out. Team DTNS got all the money in the world. Guess who bought Rogue One in the movie draft? Well, guess what? Your hopes and dreams are dashed of a first week rise to ascension because Justin Robert Young remains our number 1 contender.
Like less than 2 million ahead of me. That's just annoying.
Is that what we're doing now? Is that
Trolls? Hey, man. Trolls and Rogue One don't outdo Doctor Strange and Allied. We're done. That's it.
You're not.
We're screwed.
You're not done. That's a good question, actually. Did Rogue One exceed expectations or match expectations?
It at least matched. I think it mostly exceeded expectations. It was the number 2 best grossing movie on a Thursday. It was number 2 in another category behind Force Awakens. So yeah, I mean, 155 million in the opening weekend. Honestly, no, I'm not complaining. This is pretty much what I wanted to see, and maybe even a tiny bit better.
Okay, so what do you predict right now you're going to end up at? Because at 155 for an opening weekend, are we looking at 450 total for Rogue One? Or are we going to hit closer to 400?
Yeah, I think that's the basement for it now. Like it has to. I think it has to do 450. I don't think it goes past 550. Maybe it hits 6.
This will be a bit controversial, but we're in spoilerin time. I think there'll be a sharper drop off than you'd expect. I think that Force Awakens.
Mixed reactions.
Yeah. Yeah. I think in general, like if you look at the tomato meter, it's 84%. That means generally positive. That doesn't mean people love it 8.5 out of 10 points. It means 8.5 out of 5 people will say, yeah, no, it's good.
No, I think that's fair, and that's why I'm saying 450 or 5 versus 6, because I really thought it was going to hit 6.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. By the way, did you read that fascinating?
And that's what you were saying too.
No. I mean, I did too, but not anymore. But we'll talk about that in just a bit. Meanwhile, I'll tell you what, I feel sick and dirty and yucky, but Sing looks to be, to me, a terrible, terrible movie. I hated The Secret Life of Pets. I didn't see Minions, but
so what makes you think Sing is going to be bad?
Because Secret Life of Pets was terrible and it's from the same studio.
Oh, okay.
Doing the same thing and the same animation. My wife has
seen both. She liked Secret Life of Pets, but didn't love it. She's like, it was okay. She's like, Sing is way better.
I believe it. But I also believe it's going to make all the money on the planet. I think it's going to absolutely slay it.
Yeah, I think they're pouring marketing into it. They're just pouring marketing. So yeah, it's going to get stuff. Passengers, on the other hand, poor Malango is just getting nailed. Apparently, it's just awful.
I'm sorry, which one again?
Passengers with J-Law and Chris Pratt. I read a recap of it, and it sounds terrible. Sounds problematic and awful.
That's too bad. So anyway, I'm less tempted to count myself out now than I've been since the original draft. Like, I think Rogue One...
I've never been counting you out.
Well, I've been counting you out since the day I was born.
I assume you're going to win.
No. You got Rogue One. You're going to win.
Wait, that's not what you were saying like 2 minutes ago.
I said... No. I said... Okay. Okay. It's like saying gravity goes down and then saying, well, gravity goes down, but I'm less sure of it now than I've ever been before.
And then it makes a lot of money in the backside.
No, I still think you're going to win. I think the most interesting thing is that Mikey gets a movie. He hasn't had a movie out in a while with Assassin's Creed, which it'll get him some money. It's not going to win the box office, but it'll get him some money. And then if you look at the rest of the schedule, I've got 2 movies, Amityville Awakening and Resident Evil, the final chapter, which will largely be rounding things for me, largely irrelevant. Everybody else has 1 movie except for you and Mikey. It's you and Mikey from here on out.
Oh, wow. Yeah, no, you make your stand just on Rogue One. And I got a lot of movies. And I've said this before. If I'm going to win, it's going to be on Logan. Because Logan is so deep into the spring that it's practically a summer movie. And it's the end of a almost 2-decade franchise of seeing this version of Wolverine. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, I think Logan is definitely your anchor point. If anything, being the last movie and getting cut off after 4 weeks could hurt it. Although at that point, I think it makes most of its money in the first 2 weeks.
Oh, so. Yeah. No. We move into crazy summer logic where it's like
50 Shades Darker is going to make you some money too.
I should check out what the first one did. Yep. Good one. And by the way, 50 Shades Darker is an interesting one because 50% of the market for that movie is not going to see the movie. They're going to make sure that they get laid later that evening. It's like, I will sit through 2 hours of this movie.
Did you say 50% or 50 shades of the movie?
50% of the audience, the husbands going with the wives. I assume.
All right, we got an email about Westworld, so we're not done with Westworld yet because Jen O'Malley wrote in with 3 points because she's a lit nerd and has a different frame of reference from our nerd. First of all, she thinks the reason the Man in Black is pushing so hard against the host, raping, beating, shooting, killing a child in front of a mother, is because he is playing with or trying to figure out what it takes to make a host escape their loop. He identifies so closely with the hosts because he realizes that he was stuck in a loop at one point. Also, he breaks his loop by killing and taking over the company. And 3, he is satisfied when he sees the army of the hosts because he knows they have evolved into consciousness. 4, Maeve getting off the train to save her daughter is extremely important because it means not only have they gained consciousness, they have gained something else. I think that's a typo. And then says that is the one thing you meant to leave. Mates are superior to computers. If they can have empathy, then aren't they superior to their creator? That's the point anyway. And 5, she says you should have me on the show and I'll be your literature consultant.
All right. Well, let's go in reverse order. Number 5, yes, conceded. You should be our literature consultant. 4, Maeve, yes. By the facts, Maeve getting off the train is a very important thing. Also, by the facts, the prequels were great because they told very important things that mattered a lot in the future. Facts don't always translate into good storytelling, and I did not feel the momentousness of that occasion. I certainly wasn't rooting for it. I was disappointed. I felt like I wasted half my show rooting for a thing that suddenly was rendered irrelevant. 3, he's satisfied when he sees the army. I do believe that is exactly why he's satisfied. 2, he breaks his loop by killing Bill and taking over the company. I don't think it was clear that he killed Bill at all. And if he did kill Bill, then...
Well, he kills Logan, you mean?
Kills Logan. I don't think it's killing his... Oh, brother-in-law, B-I-L. I'm dumb. I don't think it's clear that he killed Logan at all. And if he did kill him, that's hugely problematic because you don't get to go to Disneyland and go to laser tag and then actually assassinate another player in laser tag and not have an investigation going on, especially when literally the whole place is covered in cameras. And then finally... The raping, beating, shooting, killing a child in front. Yes, he's trying to break a game. He is acting as a beta tester would, doing all the nuttiest, dumbest things that you can think of. My brother was one of the developers on Return to Castle Wolfenstein, and somebody after releasing it, they figured out that somebody figured out in live multiplayer that if you turned on the binoculars and you did lean left, you had infinite grenades. And the way they did that is people tried a bunch of nonsense things that didn't mean anything. The problem with that is if you're doing that behavior, all that does is support the feeling that these are not humans or characters that we should care about, or certainly not one that he cares about, the lens through which we're watching it. He's just beta testing. He's just checking the game for cracks. He's hacking. And if that's the case, I don't see why I should feel particularly impassioned about the code. Now you could tell me, oh, but this code is self-aware. I'm like, okay, don't tell me, show me, make me feel it. And I don't think it did a good job of making me feel it.
All right, let's move on to Justified, Season 4, Episode 10, The Hunt for Drew Thompson. which ends at the end of the, like, I really thought this was going to play out for the final 3 episodes. And Drew Thompson and Ellen May's big adventure ends pretty quickly, but I was pretty stoked. I'm going to be honest. I was surprised how stoked I was to see Limehouse come back.
I was happy to see another faction. I'm not as enamored by Limehouse as you are. And I don't know, I don't know what it is. I don't know. I suspect it's that there are layers to everyone else but Limehouse. Limehouse is just straight up Limehouse. And I think I wish I knew the other side of Limehouse.
Fair enough. I was excited to see him. I just like the way he talks. And I like the way he's always got one step ahead. He knows they're hunting for Drew Thompson. And he's just a simple butcher. He just wants to make his barbecue, but also manage his criminal empire. And I also just like the way he interacts with Boyd and Raylan and doesn't take any crap. So it's just fun for me to watch him. I was confused when Drew Thompson ends up being handed over to Boyd. And that I know I'm jumping right to the end here, but that thing where Ava says, no, ask for Drew because Ellen May will be safe. And then Ellen May is like, no, I want to go with you. I've proven my loyalty to you. And there are cross purposes where Ava thinks she's doing the best for Ellen May. And Ellen May is now actually upset and more likely to tell the information that she knows about Ava. And guess what Limehouse values more than anything else? Information.
Leverage, yeah, of course. I did think it was a tender moment. I don't, given that that Drew is a character who we have seen live a lie for dozens and dozens of years. I don't know how much to believe that moment, even though it's a solo moment when he stops the car, pulls back, picks up Ella May again.
Because he sees the lost dog and he thinks, oh, she's like a lost dog. And I'm like, well, pick up the dog too. Come on, man.
Yeah, yeah, right. That's a good point. And so I don't know whether I don't trust him, right? We've seen him in private moments before when we thought that he was somebody other than Drew Thompson. So now that we know that he's Drew Thompson and we see another private moment, we're led to believe, oh no, he actually cares for LMA. I don't know that I believe it. I'm a little on guard. But I did think that was a good moment. It was really weird to see 2/3 of a season dedicated to telling the legend of Paul Bunyan, and then suddenly Paul Bunyan just, suddenly gets handed around like a token between 3 warring factions in a holler.
Right. And by the end, it's like, you know what? I'm just going to turn myself in. Like, no, don't turn yourself in. Oh, okay. Now you're going to get turned in. You know what? Fine. That's fine.
Yes. And again, I'm not judging, but because every guest we've had on who's seen this they've been coy, but they've indicated that they really liked this season. And so I trust that there's going to be some moment that I'm on board with all of this. But I would say right now might be the end of Act 2, where I'm at my weakest moment on my commitment to Sparkle Motion.
Well, yeah, I've always doubted your commitment to Sparkle Motion, but what gives me hope, and I don't want to overstate this, I am enjoying this season.
Yes,
I just like hearing
both.
Everybody do their things in Harlan. It's great. Having Art out in the field was great. There's lots of great moments, but this story is confusing me this season. And the part that has me hopeful that it will jump up and surprise me is that this should have been the end of the story, right? We found Drew Thompson and he's been brought to justice. Raylan got him. And we've got 2 more episodes. So we know that there are obviously a lot of other factors in play where the story could go. But I don't know about you. Maybe I'm just not thinking about it hard enough. I don't know where it's going.
Well, and here's the weird part is how I feel about Drew Thompson is the most in flux it's been because granted, everybody wants him for a different reason. But they did a fairly compelling job of saying, hey, man, this town was built on Drew Johnson. Yeah, he stole that cocaine, but that cocaine, this is a city. This is a family. This is a community.
The cocaine's not here, Drew. It's in your house.
Exactly.
And in the butcher shop.
Exactly, right? I don't have your cocaine. And so as a result, I wish I could say I felt more conflicted, but I just full on, I'm like, get out, go away, or go to jail. I don't know. You're guilty, but also, you seem to have invested in your community, and you seem to be humble, and you seem to care about
LMA. The better sheriff of the two sheriffs we had.
Yes. So I don't know how I feel. I'm a little bit in flux right now.
And I don't really care about Theotonin. Like when the helicopter came to get him and then flew away, I was like, yeah, it's a gloved hand. Like I imagine they might try to come back and abduct Drew for vengeance or something, but that just doesn't interest me as much. So
that's one that on paper, similar to what we were talking about with Westworld. On paper, I'm sure that's a very important thing, but I didn't feel it either.
Yeah. All right, we will continue to watch Justified. Programming note, no spoiler in time for the next 2 weeks because of holidays and travel, but we will pick it up after that. And we'll try to let you know ahead of time how many Justifieds we're going to watch. My commitment is to one, at least one, maybe more. Should we just do one for the next episode?
Well,
I mean, it's going to be 2 weeks. Y'all could probably bang through
I will probably find myself with 2 down moments that I'll be looking for something to chew up. If not, I'll just get caught up on.
Let's commit to 2 at the the next one.
Okay, right on. All right.
Rogue One, a Star Wars story that I saw twice this weekend. Once with my wife on the day it came out, and once so that I could sit and take notes and apparently annoy the person next to me who moved seats for pretend I'm dumb about Star Wars.
Oh, that's amazing.
And I had very different experiences in those 2 showings. I will start by giving my first experience, then I want to hear you.
Can I place a bet?
Yeah, sure.
I'm going to lock it in right now. You don't have to tell me if I'm right, but I'm going to bet you enjoyed it much more the second time when you were pretending you were dumb about Star Wars. But let me hear your first impression.
I loved it the first time around.
Oh.
I was smiling the whole time. I was like, oh, this scene is a scene from the book Catalyst up on the big screen. I'm getting to see Lyra and Galen and young Jin, and I know exactly what Krennic is doing, and this is fantastic. Look at these worlds. The planets are great. It was fun to see that world from A New Hope that I just watched the night before, like show up on my screen, and everything, even though they're using what is very obviously a TV switcher to operate the Death Star, it's still there. They committed to that. I was just a 7-year-old boy again, and I enjoyed it the whole way through with a smile on my face right up until the end.
Yeah. Wait, so you did not enjoy the end the first time you watched?
No, including the end.
Oh, including the end. Okay. Yeah. All right.
I guess I just wasn't paying close enough attention, but I thought that Tarkin was being played by an actor, and I thought, oh, well, he looks pretty close to Peter Cushing the first time around. And then Eileen disabused me. She's like, no, that was CGI over an actor. And I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I went through a similar experience. The first scene he was in, I thought it was an actor because they kind of give him a croaky voice at the beginning of it. I don't know why. Like the first time we see Tarkin, his voice is really different from the entire rest,
and his cheekbones aren't quite the same, and he's got a little darker skin tone. And
I thought the same thing, and then slowly that uncanny valley came in. Which, by the way, speaking of which, this was Uncanny Valley, the Star Wars show. Everything you thought you wanted in a Star Wars show.
All right, yeah. So that's my first run. Now, you've only seen it the once. What was your feeling on it?
I want to commend the intent of giant swaths of it. I thought it was really a cool idea to commit to the connective tissue, not only with the New Hope, but to the Clone Wars. It was awesome seeing ships from the Clone Wars in the Rebel fleet, and my first thought being, look at that relic. It looks old next to the X-Wing fighter, right? And you can tell there's a transition time. I commend the fact that they decided to make Darth Vader's costume look super garbagey and cheap, because that's how he looked in the original Star Wars. I think it was. I also commend the intent to ask interesting questions. One thing I really loved. Okay, let me go in order. First 15 minutes, I was in ecstasy, jumping around from place to place. I was like, this is an expanded universe novel on the big screen. I'm going to places and none of them are Tatooine. This is amazing. Then like the 5th or 6th time we went to yet another location without context or anything, it started to kind of wear down. I also want to say that this is the closest, I believe, certainly to date, possibly ever, we're going to get to TIE Fighter the movie. You know, this was the most sympathetic we've ever seen the Empire be. And the problem with that is that kind of left me feeling like Rebellion was a bunch of jerks. Okay, it didn't help that they went to space Afghanistan, complete with the complete geography and geology of Afghanistan, and rebels, these religious zealots dressed like it's Afghanistan, doing suicide bombings and attacks on simple members of the Empire who were trying to keep order by rolling their tank down the middle of the city.
Even the first showing when Cassian. When Cassian shoots his informant, I was bugged. I was like, wait a minute, that's what the rebellion does. They don't shoot their informants, but I let it go because I was having so much fun with so many other things. But yeah, this is not the rebellion of episodes 3, 4, and 5, where we rise above. This is a rougher rebellion that does what it takes to get what needs to be done.
Correct. And it doesn't help that what we see of the internal politics of the Empire says, hey, we're tired of this conflict. We're tired of this attrition. We want to bring order to the galaxy. So we're going to create a weapon of mass destruction that is so terrifying and so powerful that we can finally end all war. Which is pretty much the exact argument that the United States used and was correct. We've had the peacefulest 60 years in the history of all humanity, thanks to America making a Death Star. So all of this puts me in a very weird place when where I don't, again, on paper, well, the rebellion, the good guys, whatever. But I'm not feeling it. What I am is I'm feeling confused, and I'm asking questions I don't want to be asking.
What the Empire does do, your politics or not, is blow up cities, and we know they are going to blow up an entire planet. So we know they're evil.
Sure, but yes, because we're told. Not.
I guess they show them. They show them blow up an entire city.
That's fine.
Yeah.
But my point is, all of that makes it. A New Hope was World War II. This was Vietnam, and Vietnam not as fun as World War II. World War II had good guys and bad guys. And it made sense and everything.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. Like, and the first time through, I was like, whatever. You know, I'm having fun. These are good scenes, and these are fun planets and characters. But I am still uncomfortable with the idea. I mean, definitely the idea that Cassian would be a trusted high-level member of the rebellion and shoot an informant point blank with no angst about it. Be willing to shoot Jin's father without telling her. And finally has a crisis of conscience about it. But even beyond that, just that the rebellion was sort of disorganized and didn't really, and had a bunch of squabbling people who are like, well, if they've got a Death Star, then we should just quit. That's perfectly fine way to tell the story. It's not the way I would have imagined it, but okay. I both love and hate this movie. And I guess I'll just jump in with my second time through. I started to see a lot of flaws, a lot of inconsistencies. I didn't understand a couple of things which really are nitpicky and such, but I didn't understand how they got the ship out of the planet where the engineers were. That was kind of confusing, but whatever. Okay, so they stole an Imperial ship. I guess how they did it didn't really matter. And I was extra confused by the whole situation where they needed to bring down the shield gate so that they could send a signal through, because they needed to send a signal because the shield gate was closed and they couldn't leave.
Right.
But
they
if
needed
you bring
to
down
send
the shield gate,
yeah.
then you could leave. So you didn't need to send the signal.
Well, and this is one of those things that, as weird as that was, as wonky as that was, I'm gonna commend them again for thank you, not blowing up a giant circular thing by putting the dart right in the bullseye. Although I guess they kind of did that. They nudged a giant, literal dart-shaped ship. Yeah.
It was a triangular object. You're right.
Okay, about that. All right. So, again, I love the set pieces, love the set design. I thought it was great that it felt like a blast from the past. It felt like connective tissue. On the flip side, everything I really enjoyed and loved about this, there's also a dark side of it that I absolutely hated. I absolutely hate this weird feeling that everybody who makes a Star Wars movie has, that feels this need to complete the connective tissue right down to the minute so it directly hands off from one thing to another. These will never be all one movie. If it is all one movie, it is the garbagiest single movie in all of cinema history. It makes no sense. It's all over the map. Tonally it shifts. Aesthetically it shifts. It makes no sense. I don't understand why they keep making the last scene try to hand off to the next.
Do they, though? I don't know what are the other examples of that?
At the end of Revenge of the Sith, where they made sure to walk from the aesthetic of the Republic that was to directly walk into the Tantive 4. All of a sudden, everything's all white and it looks all 70s, and Bail Organa's picking up the Death Star plans.
So you don't mean literally, like, because in this movie, they literally take you to the scene before the next movie,
which is another thing.
Yeah.
Because
so you're saying aesthetically.
That can't be the case. That can't be the case because R2-D2 and C-3PO are not on the Tantive 4, which means...
Well, why? No, they could be on the Tantive 4.
No, because they're sitting there saying like, oh, where is that fleet leaving us behind? Oh, they're going there?
No, they say that before the fleet takes off. They have plenty of time to go board the Tantive 4.
They
say the fleet is leaving now? Oh, no. And I assume they then go and get on because C-3PO doesn't want to go into space.
Then I'm even more mad because
okay.
because I was willing to give it a chance that maybe there was a gap of 6 weeks between the one thing and the other, and there was some hunt that perpetually they were always one step ahead of Darth Vader. But if you're telling me literally the next scene is the beginning of The New Hope, then that's dumb as crap. Because in the middle of 12 9/11s, they hand the plan to Leia, who turns around with a puffy CG face and says, and a beatific smile in the middle of the biggest loss of life in the history of the rebellion to date. She says, "Oh, what's that you've handed me? It's hope. A new hope." And was not okay with that.
I was okay with that. That's not what bothered me. What bothered me is, why is she there at all?
Because rebellion.
I mean, I'm actually fine with them, like, bring the plans to Leia, and this is our first victory, So yes, there's a lot of loss of life, but we did what we came for. We've got a new hope. Never mind that nobody wanted you to do this, which I have a separate problem with. I would be okay with
that they actively voted
we got
against.
The plans. This is the hope we need. I'm fine with that. What I don't understand is why the princess, Bail's messenger to Obi-Wan Kenobi, was allowed to just hang out on her ship in the belly of the command of the fleet while it was battling and possibly be destroyed, and almost was destroyed.
Ready for this? Weirdly, I'm more okay with that CGI Uncanny Valley on Leia than I am with the entire use of Grand Moff Tarkin because, and again, I'm certain that the moment I say this, somebody will point me to an article that will show that they did their due diligence and they blah, 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 blah. I probably should not have spent every single scene waxy face robot Tarkin on there. I probably should not have been wondering whether or not the Cushing estate was compensated or asked for permission and what the legality of using that level of likeness of an actor after their demises. Because at least Carrie Fisher was able to give consent for it.
They thanked the Cushing estate in the credits.
Well, hey, thanks.
No, I mean that they and also they did it in consultation with the Cushing estate. But that's interesting. That bothered you.
That was an unnecessary distraction, right?
But how else would you do it? Like, aside from the implementation bothering you, let's say the implementation was perfect, it still would have that issue still would have bothered you. So I don't know what they could do to solve that.
Time out. Here's another thing I loved about the movie. What a ballsy move to have a movie where literally all the good guys die. Like that, and not one likable person that we've spent any time with remains at the end. That's like I almost could have dug it if who's the bad guy again?
Vader.
Krennic.
Critic.
Orson Krennic.
Yeah. No, I almost could have dug it if Critic got away, and I ended the movie like hating him, kind of like I hated Darth Vader at the end of New Hope. Right?
Absolutely.
I think even that would have been okay, but to literally kill anyone I spent any time with, yeah, that was a ballsy move. I didn't necessarily like it.
You didn't necessarily like the move, or
the implementation of it, because that's the other thing is let's talk about so many lines that are clearly supposed to be applause cues and winks and nods and jokes just fell flat. Like Kay had like 6 at-bats with clever rejoinders that he gives.
Okay,
maybe
I
2
loved
got
Kay.
a chuckle.
I thought he killed it.
I love the idea of it, but it's just like he's just like I don't know. Like I physically,
I was in a theater of people laughing at all of those lines. So
yeah,
they worked for some people.
Mine had an awkward. It was a totally full theater, and there was an awkward quiet when he goes, "I have a bad feeling."
You were in a theater full of people drinking craft beer.
Yeah, I mean, we were all drunk too. I mean, let's not play the drunk card. That's not the deciding factor.
I was talking about the drunk card. I was playing the hipster card. But
whatever.
Got it.
They
both probably don't work.
Ooh, that's interesting. Knott says that K2SO was HK47 light. I could totally see that. That kind of dark, sardonic humor that made HK47 so awesome, and KOTOR was there. Anyway, I just felt like there's a lot of totally unnecessary to do that moment with the guy who had the death sentence in 12 systems or whatever. The guy who gets his arm.
That was one where I totally understand why everyone hates that. They felt like pushing it too far. But honestly, the first time through, I loved it. Okay. Like I was absolutely that first time through sucked into all of that. I was like, oh my gosh, there's the doctor in butt face. Look at that. I love it. Second time through, I saw it. And I was like, yeah, that's unnecessary. Second time through, things dragged. Second time through, I didn't want to watch it a third time. And I think that was the most telling thing. As much as I just soaked in the nostalgia and the fun the first time through, the second time through, it didn't keep me. And The Force Awakens, I still watch. So I think they're kind of hard to compare movie-wise because they're different types of movie. But I don't need to go see Rogue One again.
Yeah, it almost felt like there was the moment everyone appeared on screen, it was important. Not only that, it was almost important that they convey that you shouldn't get too attached to anyone. And the best way to do that was to, not make them that likable, Speaking of which, there are a lot of things Darth Vader does. One thing Darth Vader never, ever does in my heart is make bad, cheesy puns. He does not wash out of the O. Henry pun-off. He does. If he does enter, he crushes the competition with biting wit and dope pun flows that will blow your mind. He certainly doesn't give you, I hope you don't choke on your aspirations. And by the way, aspiration means to breathe. So he's saying don't choke on your breathing. That's dumb. It's dumb. It's dumb. It's a bad scene. He doesn't make puns. Darth Vader doesn't make puns. That scene doesn't exist.
Darth Vader makes puns. I laughed, and I like it. And you can hate me for that. You can call me a Philistine and an asshole, and I have no taste. That's fine. I am a jerk. I loved that.
Bryce is calling him dank vapor in the chat. Oh, speaking of vaping, dank.
Oh God! Wait, what?
Forrest Whitaker was he getting high? Well, was that his thing?
I couldn't figure that out either. Yeah. Like, they were very obviously trying to strike a balance between General Grievous and Darth Vader, right? Like, he's more machine now than man. But the first time he did that, and not just, it wasn't like, oh, okay, I can't breathe, but now I can. It was like, oh yeah, that's the stuff. Like,
I wish they had committed farther in that direction. I mean, they kind of did. He got all misty-eyed or whatever.
Yeah. And he was always a little crazy. So maybe that's played well enough. It might have been too heavy-handed if they pointed it out.
by the way, if you haven't read it, there's a fascinating article on Slash Film by Peter Serretta where he breaks down all of the scenes that were in the trailer that did not appear in the movie. Because, of course, the movie has had a lot of reshoots. There's a lot of stuff in the trailer that indicates there was a very different movie that was planned. And he does a pretty good job of JFKing the answers.
We talked about this on Let's Talk About Star Wars quite a bit, because there is the trend of using scenes in your trailers because you need to get them out before you're done with the cut, and then they don't show up. Remember, there was the guy who sued about Suicide Squad because he was shown more Joker in a trailer, and then the Joker wasn't in it enough.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah. So we're like, there's that trend, which is part of this. And then there's the reshoots. And we were trying to divine like how much of this was changing things and what could we tell that they changed.
One of the most amazing things that I didn't hear about or know about was in the middle of the trailer. Apparently there's a bunch of people running across, everything's blowing up all around them. One of the characters is Alan Tudyk wearing a motion capture suit. Like it's Dave
in the
Seeger.
trailer, in the
in
public
the trailer,
Oh,
in the Rogue One
great.
trailer. He's like in the background, like they hadn't painted in the droid yet or whatever.
That's amazing. Yeah. Also, lots of scenes in those early trailers of everyone who's dead still alive, including K2SO, right? In that case, running away to ships and things. So I wonder if people lived in the first cut and then they said, nope, let's put them on a beach like Deep Impact.
Yeah, boy, that was exactly straight out of Deep Impact, wasn't it? Now, again, having said all this, I am conflicted like you are, Tom, because there are moments in this movie that I'll remember forever. The visuals are going to stick with me for a very, very long time. And I think the farther I get away from the execution of the storytelling aspect of it, I think the more fondness I will have for what they aimed to do with this extraordinary departure from the way they've done things before. But I think A for intention, A for direction, A for story elements, C- for execution, and I'll even B+ for acting.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think I agree with all of that. The story itself is good. I like the story, and I even I don't have as much of a problem with connecting it to A New Hope, in principle. I think that's fine. I think some of the way they did it was a little wonky, but the story of here's a woman who was the daughter of a man who created the Death Star, and they're going to use that to be able to figure out how to steal the plans. And this is the story of the plans getting stolen. I liked all of those elements, but like you said, it's in the execution. And I don't know enough to know how much of it was direction, how much of it was screenplay, et cetera, how much of it was in the edit. But there are issues with that as well.
Speaking of which, that they also corrected, and maybe they went to extraordinary lengths that maybe they didn't need to, but they did correct a fairly glaring question at the end of A New Hope, which is like, wait, you build something that big, and one little bullet takes the whole thing down? And
that's one of my favorite YouTube videos. Is the I think it's a cartoon of the engineers trying to answer to the fact that they created something that could be blown up with an X-wing fighter.
Yeah, well, and it gave a logical and I would say in theory the story is very compelling, and certainly the opening scene probably could have done without her finding the file called Stardust, which they definitely made sure to repeat two or three times beforehand was her nickname. And then he was like, Stardust, how do you know that's the file? And she turns to the camera and says, because I'm Stardust. See, that's the name he called me when I was a kid. That's how I know.
I used to have a Stormtrooper doll too. Did I mention that? I didn't mention that.
I probably could have done without that, but that's fine.
Yeah. No, I think with a few variances on what particularly bugged us, I think we're probably in the same place on this one, which is had a lot of good things to it, and certainly one of the better Star Wars movies in existence, but not at the top.
I mean, it's swung for the fences, and it's kind of truly wonderful in that regard.
Yeah.
I love that it exists. I love that they tried it. I'm bummed that the execution was clumsier than I had hoped, and there's parts that were wincy for me. But on balance, I'm glad it happened.
Where would you put it? Because I would put it definitely in front of the prequels, maybe in front of. Nah, I think I'd just put it right in front of the prequels.
Yeah, I'd hate to say it.
I might put it in front of Jedi, might.
Well, and here's the litmus test. If I was going to recommend a movie for my 10-year-old or 12-year-old daughter to experience Star Wars for the first time, and, there was only one available, and I had to rank my choices. Yeah. I mean, I certainly wouldn't start with Rogue One. Would you?
No. And here's the thing. This is also supposed to be a standalone story. And as much as I actually loved that they're like, and that's how the plans get to Leia, and then Leia does that, it's not. It's a prequel. It's a direct prequel to A New Hope.
It's a pretty bad standalone story. It's
not a standalone story, yeah.
But I mean,
That's really upsetting to hear, especially after this whole it'll be the most disconnected story.
That's what I thought. I was wrong. Me, this is the face of somebody who was wrong.
And you may disagree with me on this part. One of the things I did like is I felt that Tarkin, Vader, Mon Mothma, Bail Organa, that they were all put in the movie because they had a story that needed that kind of character. I didn't feel in any of those situations that they put them in because they wanted to put them in. And like I said, you may disagree with me. I never felt that. I was like, okay, yeah, you need that kind of senator. You need the second in command of the emperor. Krennic's not gonna get to the emperor, so he's gonna get summoned to the second in command. Like, that all made sense to me. The only part that seemed gratuitous was the C-3PO R2, but then I was glad of that because R2 keeps his streak alive.
Is Vader in charge of HR? Is that why? Is that you get on a plane and go
Vader's
to lava
the guy
planet?
who gets sent to inspect the Death Star for the Emperor and make sure everything's going right. So he's going to summon Krennic first. That again, I mean, you don't have to agree with me, but
no. He did not summon, or I did not perceive that he summoned Krennic. I mean, maybe that was the case, but
he said, "You summoned me." Krennic said that.
Okay, because the way it read to me was, dude flies up. Henchman walks up to sleeping Vader, wakes him up and says, some guy's got a beef with HR. He wants a promotion and he hasn't gotten it. You want to take this? Like that's what it looked like to me. And then,
but I mean, even that makes sense to me. Like, yeah, the Emperor's not going to deal with that. And Vader wants to crack down on this guy and be like, hey, man, you don't let the Death Star blow up. All right. You got one job.
Right on. Oh, people are saying that was Snoke. You think Ren Igu? You think that was Snoke in a lieutenant earlier life? Maybe
the hooded guy.
Yeah, the guy. Oh, you know what? Oh, that's a good theory. That's a good theory. Everything crumbles at the Empire.
Tall? He has to be super tall to be Snoke.
No. That's just a hologram. That's not the actual.
No,
thing.
apparently. Well, again, this is unconfirmed, but apparently they're shooting Snoke in person and he's super tall.
Oh, interesting. Well, cool. Anyway, things there's a lot I liked, but slightly more I was annoyed with.
And this is just Brian and Tom's general way of doing things. Bunch of things that annoyed me, loved it, had a good time.
We're like the Lennon McCartney of evaluating Star Wars properties.
Totally.
You say you got to admit it's getting better. I say it can't get no worse.
People would have had enough of silly Star Wars movies.
yeah.
But I look around me and I say it isn't so.
Yeah, man. Dude, please direct all your hate to cordkillers@gmail.com and tell me why I'm wrong.
Yes, your hate will make you stronger. All right, thanks, folks. Programming note, in case you didn't hear me say it before, no spoiler in time for next week or the week after, but we will catch up with multiple Justifieds and other things that we are watching. Thanks for watching, and keep an eye out for a special episode of The Killies in your feed.
What's The Killies? Ooh, only one way to find out.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.